All right, I think we are ready to go. So hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar, How I Made This Video. My name is Ryan Aish. I'm an instructional designer on our customer education team, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. Joining me today is my coworker, Jason Valad. He's an instructional designer, master trainer on our customer education team. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning, Ryan. Thanks for being here and welcome to all of our attendees.
Great. So we are trying something new today with today's webinar. Jason is going to be sharing a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, on his process for creating a recent video tutorial. So Jason is a wealth of knowledge. If you've attended any of the other webinars that he's had, I'm sure you're back because of that, because you hopefully will be able to take some of the ideas and techniques that he shares today and utilize them in your Camtasia video projects. So Jason's going to be working on a Windows PC today, and he's using the latest version of Camtasia 2021. If you are using an older version of Camtasia, or perhaps you're on a Mac, that's absolutely fine. A lot of what he shares is going to be doable on both platforms of the newest version, and we'll try to call out as many major differences if there are throughout the session. So I do have a couple housekeeping things to mention before we jump into the presentation. So first of all, this, there we go. This webinar is being recorded, so you will receive a copy of the recording in an email tomorrow. So feel free to rewatch it if you wanted to revisit something that Jason shared, or even share it with your coworkers if you think it's something that they might find helpful. And finally, we are utilizing the Q&A feature inside the Zoom webinar. Most of you have already found it and introduced yourself. Thank you for that. So please post your questions at any time. We have a team of awesome TechSmithies waiting to answer your questions. We've got Troy, Jason, Luke, and Brooks all sitting there patiently waiting to answer your questions as you post them. So if we will be pausing periodically throughout the session. So I know Jason had mentioned earlier, he's hoping this is more of like a ask your questions and what do you want to know more about that he's sharing with you. So post your questions and we will do our best to answer as many as possible. There's also a link you can see on the document. I'm going to be pasting that into the chat. So let me actually do that right now. There is a PDF link. You're welcome, that has a list of resources for you. You'll also, I believe this comes in the email that you'll get tomorrow. So with that, Jason, housekeeping is done. I think I'm going to hand it off to you. Are you ready to go?
Let's do this, Ryan. Thanks so much. And once again, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. A couple of things in my housekeeping side, which is first, doing a little experiment on the side here where we're figuring out how to make even better content for all of our users, from users of Camtasia, Snagit, Audiate, and more. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about how you might be able to help us with that kind of content in terms of conversations and input, I'm also putting a link to a quick form. It's totally up to you if you want to check that out or not, just part of an experimentation that I'm working on. We also wanted to share a little bit about what my plan is today. So I want to talk to you about the process of planning a video, everything from recording audio with a script inside of Audiate, grabbing some images with Snagit, and then creating that content into turning it into a video inside of Camtasia, and then getting that video out into the world. So that being said, I do have a poll, a single poll question that's interactive for people to click on. And that poll question is pretty simple. So when I launch it, go ahead and click on the answer that most corresponds with your situation, which is, I want to know, did you do your homework? Meaning, did you watch the video that was associated with today's webinar? Yes, no, or what video? This is an experimentation style webinar that we're doing today, where actually the video that we're going to talk about that I created was put in the description of the webinar. So I want to see if anybody had an opportunity to watch that. So I'm giving everybody another 5 or 6 seconds because there are a little over 320 of you joining us today. So it takes just a few seconds for enough people to give their answers. All right, let's go ahead and end this and share the results. So the results show, Ryan, can you make sure that you're seeing the results on your screen as well?
Yes, I'm seeing them.
Perfect. Thank you. So 36% of you said, yep, you watched the video. 24% said, no, you didn't. And 40% of you said, what video? So that's fair. I was anticipating that being a possibility. So as a way to jog your memory, as also a way to kind of get your brain thinking, I'm actually going to play that video for you guys right now. It's 1 minute and 15 seconds long. This is the video that I created that the webinar is based on. What I'd like you to do while you watch this for a quick second before we get into the process is take note of the items in the video that you're most curious about, and you can start populating those questions in the Q&A part of the webinar. And we'll either have our team address them in there, or as the team watches it with you, we can ask them when we get to that point in the video process of the webinar. So enjoy the 1 minute and 15 second homework associated with today's webinar. If you've installed Snagit or Camtasia and have been presented a message that looks like this, you're all set. But if you've installed or tried to install either tool and been presented with one of these messages, you're in the right place. Let's take a look at how to deactivate your software key. First, it's important to note, you do not need to have access to the computer you installed the software on. You only need to have access to the internet. Start by visiting TechSmith.com and logging into your TechSmith account. Choose My Products from the top of the screen. Then locate the Snagit or Camtasia key from your list. Click on the Deactivate button. This will deactivate Snagit or Camtasia on all the devices where it was installed using this particular software key. To reactivate the key, on a new computer for instance, simply install the software on the new device and apply your key. If you run into any challenges or have further questions, please reach out to us at support.techsmith.com. Thanks for watching. And there you have it. So that's the video that we created for this particular project and the one we're going to discuss right now. So the first thing I want to share with you is why? What's the purpose of this video? Well, we actually have a project here on the customer education team at TechSmith where we ask other teams inside of TechSmith, particularly our tech support team and our customer care team, the people that interact with you most often, our users. And there is a ton of different articles and help documentation inside of TechSmith.com that teaches you how to do a lot of things. And for example, there is articles on how to deactivate your software key, which is a common question we get because people are updating computers, moving from one office to another. And it's a fairly simple process, but we only had it in text form. So first thing I did was, because I've never done this, is I had to learn how to deactivate your software key. It's not something I ever did as part of my role here at TechSmith. So I went through all of our articles and learned how to deactivate them, what buttons to click, what buttons not to click. And I got a sense of how to do that process. As you see on all the articles I'm bringing up right now, there's actually a video in them, and that's the video we just watched because as part of this project, we embedded that video in those articles. But I had to learn how to make that happen, how to deactivate the software key. Once I did that, I had to practice. I had to go through all the steps to ensure that not only was I talking about it correctly, but showing how to do it correctly. Once I felt confident in how to do that, I opened up something simple. I opened up a Google Doc and I started creating a script. I talked out loud, I wrote it down. I sometimes use Google's speech to text, and I walked through the process by how to deactivate your software key. And I made it sound like the script that you just heard, the voiceover in the video. When I got it to exactly the point I wanted, I sent it over to the people that requested the video to make sure that I wasn't skipping any steps, because when it comes to deactivating a software key, I'm not a subject matter expert, also known as a SME, an SME in this particular workflow. And I walked through it. I made sure that they gave it their thumbs up between both departments. And then I started to do what I typically do when I make my videos, which is script it out and launch one of our new products called Audiate. TechSmith Audiate is an audio recording tool that we use for recording audio, transcribing your spoken word, launch that. I had it pulled up, but I had to do a quick restart of my computer. So give me just a half a second while it launches. And Audiate is a really helpful tool in terms that I can record my voice and have it sound like a professional audio right off the bat. So let me pull up the script that we've got so far. I read through most of the script and had it transcribed live inside of Audiate. But there's a few more lines here from the bottom of my script that I'm going to add into the recording right now. So Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and record these last 3 lines, and then we can talk a little bit about Audiate. All right. All right. Key. To reactivate the key on a new computer, for instance, simply install the software on the new device and apply your key. If you run into any challenges or have further questions, please reach out to us at support.techsmith.com. Thanks for watching. No matter how many times I record an audio, I still think that's super magical to me to be able to see live transcription happening. So this is TechSmith Audiate. I'm going to turn off my camera so we have a full screen here. So I can go back and listen to all of my spoken word, which is the audio you hear in the video. If you've installed Snagit or Camtasia and have been presented a message that looks like this, so it's the script that I read. The next thing I personally do is I go through and I make any visual edits to the word. So Audiate's really good at transcribing your audio, but it doesn't get every word perfect. For example, please reach out to us at support.techsmith.com down here. Support.techsmith.com should actually all be one word. So I simply hover over it, highlight it. I right click and combine into a custom word. So this one's going to be a website. So support.techsmith.com. And just like that, I have a completed audio file with correct translation and transcription of my words. Why is it important to be correct in here? Because one of the things you can do in Audiate is send over and export an SRT file so I can have captions associated with my video. The next thing I would do is here inside of Audiate is if it sounds pretty good. Now I've made a lot of videos and I've got a pretty good audio setup. It's the one you're hearing right now for webinars, but I can actually enhance it even further using Audiate. There is a gear icon, a little effects icon in the lower right-hand corner that shows different effects that you can apply inside of Audiate. For example, I would start here with an equalizer, which just basically gives me a little bit more oomph to my recording. There's lots of different presets here, and the one I use most often is to improve male voice. So when I play it back, if you've installed Snagit or Camtasia and have been presented a message that looks like this, you're all set. But if you've installed or tried to install either tool, so once I'm really happy with how it sounds, I can go through any number of effects and explore them. If I'm in a recording area that's a little louder than normal, I can try and remove outside noise. If I have a lot of S sounds, I can do the de-esser tool. There's a lot I can do within Audiate to make sure my audio sounds crisp and clear, regardless of my microphone setup. When I'm ready, I can then take this audio that's recorded in Audiate, and as long as I have Camtasia installed, when I hit export, I can export that directly into Camtasia. Now, I happen to have a Camtasia project open. It is the project that we're working on later on. So I'm not going to export it this time, but what it would do is I get one of two choices. I can either export the audio directly into the media bin, or I can export it right to the timeline. I personally send it to the media bin so that I can make adjustments to where it goes in my project later on. But with the audio done, I can move on to the next stage of my video creation process. So we talked about a lot of things right off the bat here, Ryan, and I'd love to know if there are any of the questions that have come in so far about the starting process, which was anything from the research to trying to become a subject matter expert to anything about Audiate, because this might be new to a lot of people attending today's webinar.
Yes, there have been some questions coming in, lots of great questions. First off, about Audiate, you mentioned there was several people have been asking, does Audiate come with Camtasia or is there an extra cost involved?
Sure, great question. So Audiate is a separate product from Camtasia. It does not come as part of Camtasia. It is a separate purchase. There is a singular cost for that as well. I don't have the cost in front of me, but someone might be able to help me out. Ryan, if somebody already posted in the cost for Audiate. I believe there's two different ways to purchase Audiate, and you can do it directly from TechSmith.com. There is a free trial. You can do a 1 week trial of Audiate to see if it's exactly what you want. However, you can also get it yearly for, I think it's $300, or you can pay month to month with a $30 monthly fee, depending on the projects that you have in front of you. But it is, it is a separate product, independent of, but connected to Camtasia.
Great. And along those lines, Katie asked a great question. Why would you choose Audiate over recording audio just right in Camtasia?
That's a great question. I actually do it both ways, Katie. When I'm starting a project from scratch, I'll be completely transparent and honest. The audio quality that I'm going to get out of Audiate for the style of video that I'm making today, which we describe as a tier 1, top tier, gold standard video here at TechSmith, is going to be far superior to what I would record just natively inside of Camtasia. If I'm just doing a quick line replacement, or reading over a quick slide in a video, or if it's maybe a less formal video, I have no problem with using the voice narration tool in Camtasia. I've done it plenty of times. But if I'm going to do a long form video, something that's going to live on, something that's going to go onto our YouTube channel, or that I'm sending to a client of some sort, I want to give the best possible audio result available to me, which is using a tool like Audiate to not only record the audio, lean on the transcription services. So I have an SRT, a caption file ready for me to go. I can edit the audio like I'm editing a document. I mean, if you're an audio person like me and you want to get into the WAV files, we have those, but it's as simple as, maybe I don't want this line in the audio. I can literally hover over it and hit delete. It's gone. I don't have to worry about snipping or on timelines or anything like that. And I have the ability to utilize the audio effects that are built into Audiate, because maybe the audio is just not in its best position today. Maybe I'm a little out of breath, or maybe the room is a little more echoey, or I'm getting a little too close to my microphone. There's lots of different things that Audiate can help you correct that I wouldn't get with the native recorder inside of Camtasia. Good questions.
Yeah, great answer too. Great response. I do have a question from Ron. He asked, will we receive a copy of the Camtasia file for this video so that we can look at how you did the various actions once the session's over? So basically, could we zip up this Camtasia project, and maybe include it in the email tomorrow? Are there any reasons why we shouldn't do that?
I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't do that. We'll tell you what, Ron, the team and I'll talk about it. There's probably a good chance we can include that zipped project, or at least a link to it somewhere. Stay tuned. Definitely because once you see it, it looks complex, and it is. But I agree that it'd be great for someone to be able to dive into it later on. I'll put that thing together, and we'll see if we can send that out with the email. Happy to look into that.
Perfect. Yep. And thanks for asking that, Ron. It's a couple other questions, but I think you're going to maybe talk about them, about how you did the pop-ups, the animated wave at the GIF at the end, and stuff like that. So sure. I'm sure you're going to cover that coming up shortly in the presentation.
Very true. Very true. All right. So the next thing that I would do is I would look at my script and decide, do I want to record this whole process in video form and then edit it later on to kind of get to a concise point where I can show step-by-step how to do this key deactivation. And I decided, no, I don't think I want to record this video. I think I want to get imagery captured from the different stages and then animate those with zooming and panning and utilizing Camtasia's tool set within Camtasia. So I basically followed my script. It says, start by visiting TechSmith.com and logging into your TechSmith account. Well, I can do that. But before I do even that step, recommendation for everyone is this monitor that I'm doing the webinar on is the same monitor that I created this video on. And what I tend to do before I do any capturing with Snagit is I go into my display settings of the monitor that I'm going to use, and I scale it up, make it a little bit bigger than the recommended stage. Like, it recommended is where I work every day. It's how I consume content, how I write scripts and all that. But when I'm making pictures, taking pictures with Snagit, taking captures, and then editing, I bump it up at least to 125%. When we create our tutorials, we actually bring it up to 150% because we want the greatest, clearest detail for people when they're consuming that content. So I scaled it up to 125%. And then I'm going to bring up the website, techsmith.com. Then what I would do is I use that script. Where's my script hiding on me? There it is. So I would then use my script. I'm going to put it on my other monitor for right now. I would use that script to walk myself through the process. So the first thing it says is visit techsmith.com, okay, and log into my TechSmith account. So from here, I would use Snagit. I'd launch the Snagit capture tool. And we'll pull that up right here. And I would I usually use the all-in-one capture just because I'm indecisive, but I know I can grab an image from there. So I'd click the capture button and I would capture just the relevant part of the website, which shows the website itself and where my account is. And I would take an image here. I would then take an image at this point that shows the exposure of my name. And then I take an image of the highlighted my account. And I'd literally walk through all the steps and take pictures along the way. So it says, start by logging into your TechSmith account, which is here. I'll click my account, which is taking a second to load for some reason. There it is. The next thing it says is to click on my products, which is at the top of the screen, which I'm not going to do because that exposes all of my software keys. And I'm a nice guy, but I'm not that nice. I'm not going to give away all the keys, right? So I literally walk through all those steps. And once I've done that, and I've captured all that imagery inside of Snagit, I have the process laid out step by step, right? So here's the first one where it's the first page. Then I showed an image of my name exposed, and then an image of the button highlighted. And then we go into here to the my account, where I then said, click on my products. And then the next steps were to go through and locate your products from the list. In this case, it was Snagit and Camtasia. Click on the deactivate button. So I would get stages of those, as well as what it looks like when you click deactivate. And the reason I took all these images individually is, one, you can see them really large on my screen. They're nice and clear. There's no chance that the text is going to be blurred or unable to be read. There is things on these images that's blurred out. One is my personal recovery email and my phone number, because I just didn't need those in the video, right? Those don't need to be out in the world. However, my TechSmith information, which is public knowledge, no problem. That's out there. Happy to help out. And then I would grab any other images associated with the video in terms of when we would reactivate a key, both in Camtasia and Snagit. And then I have those error stages that were at the very beginning of the video, where the little pop-up check mark was and the red X that people were asking about. So I have all these images inside of Snagit. And then I utilize something in Snagit that I think is underutilized for people that are creating videos with Camtasia. And that is, if you have an image pulled up, one of the share options, if you have Camtasia installed, is to send that image directly to Camtasia, and it will drop it in your media bin. So far we've talked about Audiate. I can send my audio right into Camtasia, right into the media bin. I can do the same thing here with Snagit. I can grab all the images that I need and send them over to Camtasia so they're ready for me to assemble and put together in my video. So a couple key things to remember. I recommend personally to scale up your screen regardless of the size of your monitor. This is a 2K one, but if I was on my 13-inch little laptop, I would scale it up as well, because I want to get the clearest, crispest image that I can to be able to share with my audience. The main reason is I know how big the video is going to be when I produce it, but I don't get to decide how someone's going to consume or where they're going to consume that video. It could be on their laptop. It could be on a tablet or a mobile device. It could be blown up on a gigantic, remember when we would all go into conference rooms at work? You could blow it up on a wall and watch the video as a group if someone's trying to learn or how to teach something in a classroom. My goal as a content creator is to give it the best possible, crispest result I can, so that no matter where the video is consumed, it looks at its best. All right, so let's go to our little checklist. That's not really a checklist, I'm cheating, but what we were walking through in today's video. So we talked about recording audio with a script and using Audiate. We grabbed some images with Snagit. Well, now it's time to do the big part, and that's build it in Camtasia. So I'm going to bring up Camtasia, and you will see inside of Camtasia here, I have got a lot happening. Before we talk about what's happening inside of Camtasia, though, Ryan, let's take another quick break, only because I need a sip of water, and to find out if there's questions around Snagit or how I used Snagit in this instance in terms of capturing imagery for this video.
Hi there. Yep. Timely question. Cindy just asked, she said, I missed that. That was a still Snagit capture, or was it a video? And did you grab it with Snagit, and how'd you get it into Camtasia?
Yeah, so let's double check that one more time. So the images that I captured were captured with Snagit as still images from where I was in the video. On the web page. I used the Snagit capture window. I used an all-in-one capture, grabbed an image, like if I wanted to grab this one here. Not a video, not a panoramic capture, just your standard issue image capture within Snagit. And then once I did anything I needed to in this case, like if I needed to obscure anything, right now I do not have personal identifiable information on here. When I have the image ready to go for the video, I can go up to the share menu and click on Camtasia, as long as I have Camtasia installed, and Snagit will send that image right into Camtasia over here in the media bin. As a matter of fact, here's all those images that I sent over from Snagit for the video originally, because I made this back in late May. So they were sent in and they kept dropping them in the media bin. It's kind of like going shopping, right? Snagit I'm grabbing the content off the shelf and putting it in my shopping cart. I'm capturing the images that I want with Snagit and then putting them in my media bin or shopping cart by sending it from Snagit directly to Camtasia. Hopefully that clears that up for Cindy.
I think so. She says super cool. And
Cool.
Could you also, because I noticed some of your images had a blurred out the key and things like that. Can you show real quick how you blur something in that last capture you took in Snagit?
Yeah. So let's pretend I don't want this add a recovery email showing up, because I don't know, it doesn't look polished. It doesn't look super professional with this particular image. So I would go into my Snagit editor. I know the blur tool for the way I have my Snagit instance set up is underneath the more drop-down button here at the top of the screen. I would click more and choose blur. And there's two options for blurring in Snagit. There's a really smooth blurring style, which looks like you smudged some ink. And there's also a pixelation or pixelate version of the blur. I'm partial to the pixelate when I'm talking about tech stuff, just because I think it looks kind of cool and techy. So I select the style I want, and then you just click and drag over the section that you want to blur out. So I'll blur out both of these here, and I can resize them, remove them, move them around. So those are all done within Snagit. And then this image, when it's exactly the way I want, I would simply share it over to Camtasia using the share option and clicking Camtasia. Or if I happen to have customized Snagit and put Camtasia as one of my share destinations up here, I could do it that way as well.
Awesome. So lots of great questions coming in. Dan asked real quickly, does Camtasia have to be open to export from Snagit? And I believe I can maybe even answer that one. I think if Camtasia is not open, when you go to share it, it'll launch Camtasia for you and drop it into a new project.
Yep, that is correct. And if you have Camtasia open, it'll drop it into the open project that you're working on. So if in the process for this particular video, I would have already had the project open because I would have sent the audio from Audiate in there. But I could do those in inverse order, right? I could capture all my imagery with Snagit and send it into a brand new project with Camtasia, then go do Audiate. This just happened to be the order of operations I chose for this particular video. It's personal preference. I just love audio, so I did the audio first, and then I did the Snagit imagery secondary.
Great. One more question, then I'll let you get back into it. Rich, excuse me, asked a question about, do you have a system to organize the different types of files you create when recording? He said there's nothing worse than moving a file from desktop into a file and having Camtasia say file not found when reloading a project. So isn't there something new in 2021 that can help with that?
Yeah, actually, Rich, there is. I like to think, I know they didn't, but I like to think the developers did this just for me. And that is new with Camtasia 2021. When you save a project, by default, I'll go to File, Save As this time. But if this was a brand new project and I hit Save, when you do that, there is a button that's checked down here, a box in the lower right-hand corner called Create Standalone Project. And what that does is, as you save the project, Camtasia takes into account that everything that's inside of your media bin at that point gets saved into its own TSC Proj folder. As a matter of fact, on my screen here, in my welcome, or not my welcome window, in my Explorer window, I actually have some TSC Proj file folders. The one for today's webinar. If I open that up, oh, it's trying to save it. Let's just cancel all that and open the window itself. If I go to my videos where I have that saved, so Camtasia, customer care videos, key active activation, inside that folder is all the content that I need for that particular video, everything that was in the media bin as it stood. So my Camtasia logos, those Snagit images we just talked about, all those things are in there at that stage. So then once I've saved it and those items are in the media bin, every time I add something to the media bin by importing it into Camtasia, by capturing with Snagit and importing to Camtasia with that export button, every time the project gets saved, that folder gets updated. So I can then move that folder, that TSC Proj folder with all that content in it around. If I need to move it from my desktop to another folder, to a different drive, I can do that, and it keeps everything together so that you don't end up with the thing you described where files missing or broken link or anything like that. This has saved me so much mental anguish because I tend to move stuff around a lot and delete files that I think I'm done with. This at least protects the integrity of that particular project while I'm working on, and then I can archive it later with the confidence that everything that was in that project at the moment that I saved it is exactly where it should be. All things in place.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I do have a few more questions, but I think I'm going to hold on to them for a little bit because you may answer some of them coming up. So,
okay. Feel free to keep interrupting though, Ryan, because that's,
okay.
I think the value of today's session is, as people are asking and it's happening, happy to give as much guidance as I can. And as you know, Ryan, you and I and another one of our teammates, Chandra, we make all the tutorial videos for Camtasia, Snagit, Audiate, and even the three of us do it a little differently. So that's good to know.
Yep. All right.
Excuse me. All right. So we're inside of Camtasia, and the first thing I think about is an intro and music. Usually intro first, then music. So I actually have an intro here that I customized. This is actually an intro that I downloaded from the TechSmith asset library. It's the asset.techsmith.library.techsmith.com is an asset library subscription that you can buy into so that you can have access to music, animated intros, backgrounds, motion graphics, all that sort of stuff. But I do want to mention there are pieces on the asset library. If I click on the library button inside of Camtasia and click download more assets, there is part of the asset library that is free to use. You still have to have a TechSmith account. So you would just sign into your TechSmith account, which is free. And I could open up, let's go to the intros section here of the asset library. And all I need to do is deselect the one over here on the left that says premium. And I hit apply to the filter. And I now have access to all of these intro styles that are free and can be downloaded and used in Camtasia right away. And they're all customizable. So if you see these ones that say your title here, or there's different icons and logos associated with it, you can customize those and using quick property assets inside of Camtasia. I will say the one that I used in this particular video is a premium one. It's this one right here, this Lumi intro. And I downloaded that into Camtasia and made some changes. So when I pulled that down, I made a few changes, including the text. I added some icons. To change any customizable asset, all you need to do is select it while it's on your timeline and go over to the properties panel on the right, and you'll see the items or the parts of that particular asset that can be customized. In this case, it was the shapes, the colors of the shapes. You have available the entirety of the color wheel, including if you're someone who is trying to stay on brand for work and you happen to know the hex code of your company's colors or the RGB code. I actually have a couple of themes set up, and if we want to talk about themes, we can do that a little bit later. But in this case, I can also change out the different text on the screen, and all I have to do is type in this section over in the properties panel, and that change will be reflected on the canvas itself. The thing that's included in this particular asset that's not part of the downloaded one is I added the Snagit and Camtasia icons because that's what I happen to be talking about. So inside this group of content, there's a bit going on here. I've got the assets themselves, the icons in something called a media mat. So that looks like they are showing up out of nowhere on the screen. That's actually a brand new feature, media mat, available in Camtasia 2021 underneath the visual effects. It's called media mat, and it's sitting right here available for your use. And you know what I'm looking at, Ryan, is those things are moving pretty statically. I probably should have added some motion blur to make them look really cool when they come up. Yeah, there. So there, I officially edited the video that I've already put out into the world because I think motion blur makes it look better.
I agree.
So once,
good.
Thank you. Yeah, motion blur is one of those things that I did not know I needed in my life, and now I'm like, I need it in my life. I need it in my life a lot because it makes everything look so much better, especially with motion. All right, the next thing I talk about, or I tend to do after I've got my my intro set, is I add music because I like to have music as a sense of what the video is going to feel like. In this particular case, I have this Audio Blocks smiley face music. Let's play that here. Yep. So that's a fun one. It is a not a free asset. It was from the asset library as well. So I downloaded that from that same location, library.techsmith.com. But once again, just like the animated intros, you can find free assets as well. And these, once you've downloaded them, even if you have the paid subscription to the asset library, they are royalty free, meaning you can use them in your projects and you don't have to cite them or source them or anything like that. That's taken care of with your uses and licensure. So the next thing I do, which is different from a lot of people, even on our team, is I bring in that audio. So remember, we recorded that audio back in Audiate. It is sitting here, not under videos, not under images, but underneath my audio. I have two pieces of audio, the music, and then this is that spoken word. If you've installed, so that is my spoken word from the video. And what I do is I bring it down onto my timeline and position it about where I want it to start. In this case, I wanted it to start while the intro was still on the screen. And because I don't want my voice to be drowned out by that music, which tends to happen if you don't make some adjustments to the audio track, the music track itself, I actually use something else that's new in Camtasia, Ryan, and that is under audio effects, we have a tool called Emphasize Audio. Much like motion blur, I use this on a regular basis because I now feel confident adding music to my videos with it not drowning out my voice. And the way Emphasize Audio works is you drag that down onto your spoken word, which it's already on there. If I select it, you'll see it over here in my properties panel. What it does is it emphasizes the audio that you drag it to and then ducks down or quiets the other audio in your entire video. So it's just my spoken word and then the music. So you should hear, if I play it back here a little bit, if I play it back in Camtasia, the visuals may not be as accurate as you want them to be because you might drop some frames, but the audio should be crisp and clear. Here's what it looks like and sounds like. If you've installed Snagit, so you'll hear the audio get a little bit quieter in terms of the music, but my spoken word stays nice and vibrant so you can hear everything that I'm saying. Next thing I did was I have a canvas that's white. The canvas by default, when you open up a Camtasia project, is actually black. And I set the canvas to white. But I decided that when I brought in those images from Snagit, that these white images would look really good against a yellow background. Well, if I change the canvas color, it's the same color for the entirety of the video. So I needed to put in a shape, in this case, a yellow rectangle. If I zoom out here a little bit, this yellow rectangle is just sitting on top, layered on top of the canvas. And I did that just to make one, because I still wanted a white background for later on in the video. But I thought the yellow made those images pop, made it really easy to see them, made it nice and crisp and clean, so that when I move them around, you could have a better viewing experience. Now, I know you mentioned, Ryan, that people were asking about this graphic right here, this check mark. Am I correct in assuming that?
You are correct.
So let me open up this group. That image is called a Lottie file, Lottie, and it's something else that's new with Camtasia 2021 in that we support Lottie files. So Lottie files are these little animated files. There's something usually pretty simple. I have a couple of them in this video. I have one that's the check mark here. I thought that was cool. And then I have one that's like a red X saying, nope, that's not correct. And then there's one of the thumbs up. These are just animated Lottie files that I downloaded from the internet. You can find them in lots of different places. They're typically free. Some of them are paid, so you do have some sites that sell them. These happen to be ones that were free, and you just import those into your media bin, and they show up as video files. So here's that failure error message one. Here's the green check mark one, and then the thumbs up one. And they usually have transparency on them, so you can drag them right onto your video and place them wherever you want. And because they're typically vector form, you can resize them and not lose any quality. That is a new feature inside of Camtasia 2021 that supports the use of Lottie files. I will tell you, this is the first time I've put a video out into the world back in May that had Lottie files in it. It's the first time I've used them. The last one I use is actually that this one, the animation of the people waving at the end. I like the vibe it was giving. So I included those Lottie files as part of my video. But the biggest thing people ask about when I put this video out was, how did I, get this to show up like this? And then I have it move, but it's not sliding off the screen. It's being hidden, and it's being hidden by these two shapes. And once again, I'm using that media mat effect. The media mat is the way of hiding things behind layers that don't get exposed in the video. We actually have a whole video series about track mats on our tutorial page that I encourage you to check out as well. So let's close that group tab.
Hey, Jason, while you close that, I just posted in the chat a link to lottiefiles.com as just an example. There's other ones out there, but this is just an example where you could go in and download a Lottie file and import that into Camtasia to use. So just wanted to mention that.
I actually am pretty confident, Ryan, that I probably got these from lottiefiles.com. It's a really cool site. It's not ours. We don't endorse it or anything like that, but it was effective for me. I just was searching for like green check mark or happy or waving, and within a second or two, I was like, that one works perfectly. And I grabbed that particular one. So thanks for sharing that with everybody. That's good to know.
Yep, you bet.
Throughout the video, I was literally going through my spoken word and following my own directions. So I gave it a title slide here with the deactivating your key with some animations. And then I started doing something else that I do rarely, but I thought it made sense with this particular video, which was I used something called B-roll. This is not a video I shot. This person typing on their looks like an Apple computer. I also grabbed that footage from the asset library online, just trying to make use of the tools I had available to me to give the best possible result. Because not only was our customer care team and our tech support team going to send this video to people that needed to learn how to use this particular workflow, but it was also going on the TechSmith support YouTube channel. And so I needed it to be a little bit more attractive, right? Something someone would watch, something someone would get the correct information out of, and selfishly, maybe they enjoy watching it for a minute and 15 seconds. I'm not quite sure. Then we see the use of my Snagit imagery. So on my canvas right now and on my timeline, I have this image here, which is the first screenshot we took with Snagit, right? I brought it down from my media bin. And then as I go up to the top section here, I zoom into the corner. I have what our team uses, which is I faked the cursor. Ryan, we're really peeking behind the curtain, like you said, right? So this part of my timeline with all these animations sitting here is my cursor. The cursor itself, I have it moving along. I have it clicking. And as soon as it clicks there, I had another image overlay the original one so that that second image that I took over here that exposed my account information, it's just another image that was put into place. And then as I come over here, the image, when I click on it, it changes to yet another Snagit image that I took, where I would then pan over. So these are all still images. They're not they're not a video at all. They just look like a video because I've added motion to the video itself by zooming and panning around. And then by adding the mouse clicks, it gives it a sense of action. Like we actually went through that whole process. And then I have a couple more Snagit images that have motion with it, including, oh, there's the motion blur. I knew I added it in this video somewhere, of my Snagit keys at the time. And then as I build the rest of the video out, it's a series of stuff that's already included in Camtasia, drawing attention to sketch motion callouts. In this case, I got a little cheeky and I matched the sketch motion callout for the Camtasia one with the Camtasia green and the Snagit one with the Snagit blue, just to give it a little bit more branding awareness there. And then as we scroll through to the end of the video, it's more of those same Snagit images, just brought in with animations. And at the end, what I've done, so we scroll down here on the timeline, that yellow rectangle. Remember I said I didn't want to change the canvas color itself from white because I wanted white at the end. It was because I found that waving animated Lottie file. So at the end, I have that yellow rectangle disappear, boom, and it's just a white, normal background canvas color that allowed me to bring in support.techsmith.com and the cool animation of the people waving and hopefully giving you a sense of confidence and kindness because we're good people here. We want to make sure that you learn what you need to learn and we can help you out in the best way possible. Ryan, I'm seeing our question document going nuts. So at this point, I'm going to bring my entire project back into focus here. And let's see what questions have come in. Maybe if it's about something specific on the timeline, a workflow, a suggestion to do it better. Because, you know, hey, I'm all about learning. Let's see what you've got as far as questions from our attendees.
Okay. First one is not necessarily a question, but a comment that made me kind of chuckle a little bit. David said,
okay.
my brain is overloaded. Which I could understand that because this is not like a getting started session. This is more of
deep,
a lot that you can do and more of so it's kind of opening up some ways for you to like think about ways that you can use Camtasia.
Absolutely.
Jacqueline asked when you were showing how you were faking the cursor with the images and things like that, she said, so why not just record the action?
Instead of doing images, you mean?
Yes.
So here we go. Ready for honesty? Jacqueline, normally I would. Ryan will tell you this 100 times over. I am the person on our team specifically who would absolutely pull this thing up and just run and gun it, quick record. Because I knew that this was going to live on for a long time, because I knew I wanted it to be what we describe on our team as the tier 1 gold standard, super polished video. What tends to happen when you record stuff live, you get stuff like this. You see, as I'm moving my mouse around at the top of the web page, you're getting these hover states, right? So as maybe I'm starting here and I meant to go to resources, but while I was going to resources, I'm dragging along solutions and support and stuff like that. 9 times out of 10, I don't care. That's fine. I'm still teaching you what you want. But in this case, I wanted it to be crystal clear. I wanted it to be non-distracting to people. So by taking those still images and using a fake cursor on top of it, I could control the action at all points. At no point in that video will you see any hover states, right? We're going to see exactly what I want you to see. Clicking, moving along, everything's exactly where I want it to be because I was able to control the environment. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, and Ryan can attest to this, I'll just record it and go. And I'll still edit it and do all the cool stuff I like to do in Camtasia. But for these particular videos, which you'll see a lot of on our tutorial page, they are crystal clean because we want to teach you a specific topic in a specific way. And anything that distracts from that may make it more difficult for you to learn. I hope that's helpful.
Yes. And along that same topic, Mandy, Rebecca, and a few others were asking, how do you add the motion to the still images to make them look like a video in an essence?
Mm-hmm.
So can you show real quickly how you added an animation?
Yeah. So for example, this screen capture here has an animation on it that makes it look like it's zooming up to the upper right-hand corner. Let's zoom in on our timeline a little bit. So that's done by adding an animation. In this case, in Camtasia for Windows, if you go over to the animations tab, there is a 2 options. There's a zoom and pan tab and an animations tab. For zooming and panning, let's click on this animation and delete it. I simply place my mouse where I want the zoom to end up. And then I use the zoom and pan to click and drag up to the section that makes the most sense as far as clarity. And when I do that, I now have a smooth animation that looks like or creates motion within the video. And you can do that again. I could grab a section here and then move it over to the left. So that adds a second layer of animation. So it zooms up and then pans over to the left. So those are ways that we tend to use animations. And then what I had to do is when it was zoomed in, I had to make sure that when the next image came up, that it was the same size and same position, because this is an independent image from the other one. So I want to make sure that, this image. So if I grab this image and move it, you'll see the original one is behind it. So when I clicked on my face, I showed this one capturing when I actually grabbed. So there shouldn't be any shifting of the screen. That's why it's really important to, when I scale up my screen, when I did those Snagit captures back on, so everything looks exactly the same at the same size, so it doesn't look disjointed.
Great. And just to comment, you guys are watching Jason do a lot of movements and then he like deletes or he undoes something, just to kind of take away that fear factor of playing around with animations and things like that. You can add them and then you can always undo it if it's not quite the way you wanted it, or right click on it and delete it or something like that, so that you can explore without the fear of, I'm going to mess up my project and not be able to get it back to where I had it before. So
yeah, I iterate. I've saved key deactivation 1, key deactivation 2 as I iterate through a project because I send them out for people to look at and see what they think.
Awesome.
Cool.
Matthew asked, can you repeat how you imported the image of the cursor? So are there cursors icons in the library that they get, or is that something they'd have to find? Okay.
So this particular one, so here, we'll continue to pull the curtain back, right? When we're making content, like we just released Camtasia 2021, we're getting ready to do Snagit here soon, but we actually have a library of assets that includes cursors. Like here's the Windows cursor. If I bring it on there and I size it up, there's a Windows cursor. If I'm making it for the Mac version, I have the Mac version of a cursor. We have those in our libraries as instructional designers here. I'm fairly confident you can find these image files out in the world to bring it in. There's probably better ways to do it. Maybe I don't know if any of our team is listening that does this as well, but it's a pretty common image to find. I would encourage you to look for it if you want, but that's what we do. Once we have it, we save it to a library, and then we utilize it for basically faking the cursor throughout our presentation. And to be very truthful and honest, we don't always do this. This just happened to be an aesthetic choice that I made for this particular video to offer as much clarity as possible.
Great. I've had a couple questions. Danielle asked this, as well as and Angelica. How long did it take you to produce this video? How many hours on the whole, from like script writing through the video completion?
Oh, less than a day. Be aware, I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of videos. But for this particular one, it probably took longer for me, in all honesty, to learn the process so that when I wrote that script, I sounded authoritative, right? Like I knew what I was talking about. So it took longer to learn how to do the process, write the script, and then double checked with those people here at TechSmith that asked me to make the video than to do all this. I did a ton of stuff in here, right? Ryan, would you go to this length on every single video? I mean,
Not every video, obviously. It's just everyone's a little bit unique.
Right. And I was having a lot of fun, Angelica, when I did this. So I probably could scale it back a little bit. But in total, I would say it took a day to less than a day, considering a day being an 8-hour workday. If it's the only thing I'm working on, some of these things go pretty quick once you have experience in the product. But then you get people that are a little bit more retentive, like I am, to make sure things line up perfectly. Like I'm a little disappointed in myself. Like here, I'll be honest, the Camtasia capture versus the Snagit capture. One, I have a mouse in there that I wish I didn't. And this one is a little bit bigger than the Snagit one. It's a little bit taller. And I'm like, eh. But at a certain point, you don't want perfection to be the enemy of done. And I probably got to the point at the video where I'm like, this is exactly what people need to know. I sent a version of it to the people that asked me to make it. They're like, this is amazing. Let's ship it. So we shipped it. And I moved on to my next project. But that's a fair question. This one took less than a day. It probably could go a little bit quicker if I hadn't embellished a lot of it. But like I said, I was having fun. It's one of the first videos that I've made that's public facing where I used both Camtasia and Snagit and Audiate definitively with the asset library all at the same time. It was fun.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of done. I like that. That's my takeaway.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah. John asked this question earlier, but I kept it here. I'm going to pose this one as well. He said in a recent presentation or interview that he watched from Visual Lounge on TechSmith, emphasized in the process of creating a video, we should start not with the script, but with visuals. So basically script second. What are your thoughts on that? I have some thoughts, but I was curious if you had thoughts on, do you start with a script or visuals?
That's funny because Ryan, you and I are going to be on Visual Lounge tomorrow talking about creating videos. So that's timely. John, it's for me, it's personal preference, right? I'm a teacher by default. I was an elementary education teacher and then became an instructional designer. So I had the idea that I got to the point where I wanted a win first. And for me, a win was getting the audio done. And to get the audio done in a really professional video is to have a script. So I like to get that part done first because I can also have other members of my team, which is part of our video creation process, review that script to make sure I'm not using 15 words when 5 words will do, or if there's a phrasing or something that I would say that just doesn't make sense in the normal conversation with people. So I personally like to do audio first because I enjoy that process a lot. And then I can manipulate audio to do whatever I want it to do once it's nice and polished. I can cut it up, move it around to match the visuals rather than trying to get the visuals to match the audio. Ryan, what about you?
For me, real quick, I tend to do them hand in hand. As I'm writing the script, I'm thinking through what visuals to show, or as I'm walking through the program or whatever I'm showing. So, and I make notes in my script of, this is where I want to show this visual or whatever. Or maybe I want to have an overlay, a zoom animation to kind of show that effect as I'm talking about it. So to me, they're kind of both at the same time in a sense. It's hard for me to gather visuals without knowing without the script that I'm going to be talking with the audio and stuff. So to me, it's kind of a combination.
Gotcha. Yeah. See, that's the best part is we've learned over time that there's not one great way to do it. There's just a lot of people like us that make suggestions based on our experience, and you experiment with ones that you work, through your process to find out what works best for you.
Great.
Let's keep going.
David, you cracking me up. his comment. Jason has a great voice. Mine sucks. That's funny.
You know what? That's I doubt that's true, David. Thank you for the kind words. That's a big thing that people talk about in videos as well, right? They worry about what they look like and what they sound like. That's what you look like. That's what you sound like. It's okay. This is what I'm dealing with. This is who I am. But I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
All right. One final question. I know we're running out of time.
I'm good. I'm good to go as long as we are going. Let's do this.
All right. If anybody needs to leave, you're welcome to. I know we're at time, so please know that you'll get a recording tomorrow. So you'll be able to review anything that you may have missed if you have to jump out. But Peter asked, was the video of the typing hands on the laptop a TechSmith stock video? How can you show that and where you got that from?
That one came from the asset library online. It was part of the premium ones, I believe. So when I went to download more assets, I went to our asset library, which was here. And I believe I was looking for a video. And I think I said laptop. I remember. But as I went through the assets, so like here's a bunch of typing ones, and I just found one that I thought would look great, and I just grabbed an image or a video of one. I chose guys' hands instead of women's hands. I went with a Mac. I just kind of went through that. So these are assets that are not free for that purpose, but you can find free assets up here as well. But a lot of the ones that are stock photo-ish like this tend to be part of the premium package. So once I found the one I liked, I clicked on the little Camtasia icon. It literally will then drop it into Camtasia. So I just pulled this one, man engraved pullover. So it's actually downloading. It's already downloaded, and it's sitting in my downloads folder. So there's that asset that we just looked at, available to me in my video.
Awesome. And the one that you have in your video is right around 25 seconds there, right? Just as reference.
Yep. This one is the one that was actually in there that I added some behaviors and animation effects to it and a fade out. Just that's exactly the same way I found it. I went to our asset library online, grabbed one that I liked, and went from there.
Great. All right. Yeah, let me think here. I think we're good. I think we don't want to overload too many more people's.
Sure. Can I answer one more question, Ryan?
Yes,
I do see this one
please.
from Dan. This is a great question. I have not seen this question. Dan asks, is the media bin unique to each project, and or is there a universal media bin? So this is a good question. The media bin within Camtasia, what's in the media bin is unique to that particular project. That is correct. As far as a universal media bin, that is actually the library tab where you can create your own libraries and add assets and different parts to those libraries. So the libraries are available across projects, while the media bin is specific to the project you're working on. I think that's
excellent. Yeah, thanks for answering that one. That's a good one.
Sure.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around after.
This was awesome.
After time.
This was awesome, everybody. Appreciate it.
So just as a quick reminder, you'll get an email tomorrow. Expect it within 24 hours from right now with a link to this recording that will also include some resources in here. We will talk and see if we can include a link to the zipped project. And if we can do it, it will be in that email. We'll just kind of leave it at that. And check out the links that will come in the email. When you exit this Zoom webinar, please, you will see a 1-minute survey. We love your feedback. Let us know what we can do to improve. If there are other topics that you'd love to see us offer, that's a great place to add those as well. So again, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for using Camtasia. And Jason, I'll let you have the final words.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Thanks everybody for being here, for asking some great questions. Hope you got a lot out of this. And Ryan, I'm putting this in the recording to remind both of us to look at getting this project packaged up as part of the email that goes out to everybody.
All right. With that, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care.